stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Good thing about doing comedy in Russia, you have captured audience.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.
Just a girl. Blah, blah, blah.
She comes from somewhere you can't see.
So anyways, do you see the video for that? Anyway,
Oh
I'll
yeah,
save this for
the video
the
for that.
podcast.
The video for that is great. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're basically just doing the Beatles. They're pretending like, because they just have like all these screaming girls, but it's just Devo in their dumb jumpsuits.
Are we recording? Because I've got stories, dude.
No. Let's save it. I'm just excited to talk about it. That I'm even starting to do the stories. So let me know when count me in.
We're rolling, dude.
Okay. Hey, welcome, everyone. This is
Comedy History 101.
I am Harmon Leon, and with me is.
I am Scott Kalanico, humanoid.
And there's probably a darn good reason that you use that sort of futuristic robot voice. And I have a question for our podcast listeners. Are we not Comedy History 101? We are Devo. And
yes.
That's a reference to our topic today, which is we're going to talk about the comedy history of the band Devo. And when I say Devo, what do you think of the band Devo when I mention that name? What comes to mind?
Are you asking me, or is this the podcasting audience?
Well, they only can respond by putting their comments below the fold.
Oh, that's right. Yes, or
After.
tweeting at us. When it comes first thing that comes to my mind are yellow jumpsuits.
Exactly. And so let's explain a little bit for those who might not know Devo. And why it is relevant right now is Devo founder Mark Mothersbaugh, he has a art show at NYU right now at Gray Gallery called Myopia, and he is one of the co-founders of Devo, which were a Akron, Ohio kind of post-punk art band who were pretty fucking funny. Devo is a band, they started in Akron, Ohio in 1973. It was founded by Mark Mothersbaugh and Jerry Casale. And they were art students at Kent State. And how the two met, they were both kind of like, the freaky art dudes. Mark Mothersbaugh, he would go around campus putting up these stickers of astronauts holding potatoes. Yeah. And it was discovered by Jerry Casale, and he was really a fan of the Spudman decals, and that's how they became friends.
Yeah, and they were both there. They were there at Kent State during the shootings, when the shootings happened. So that was April of 1970. Yeah,
and a thing that people don't know is like Devo originally was sort of about like anti-war protests, and that's sort of how they got their name. Was like they were there at Kent State when the Kent State shootings happened. It was like they were just seeing that the world was sort of de-evolving. So that's kind of how they got their name, is Devo. It's about de-evolution. And there's some funny origins of their name. So that wasn't the first choice for their name. Originally, they were going to call themselves Sextet Devo because they wanted to get their band into this jazz festival.
Which one? Montreux? In Switzerland?
No. It wasn't the Monterey Jazz Festival either. But it was just like a jazz festival in Akron, and they were going to call themselves Sextet Devo. And then they were going to go for the De-Evolution Army, but they thought that sounded way too serious. Mm-hmm. And so finally they settled just on Devo because they said it sounded like a corporate entity.
It does, yeah.
But that's sort of like, the background and influence in their whole entire sense of humor is like Akron, Ohio is known as the rubber capital of America.
Firestone, I believe, is there. Firestone, which where they invented vulcanization of rubber.
Oh, well, what is that exactly?
That's where because like normally, the sad thing is I actually know about this. The sad thing is like if you take rubber coming from the tree and put it on stuff, it'll work. for a while, but it doesn't get it's not pliable. It gets kind of brittle and it'll break off, and then like when you vulcanize rubber, you just kind of make it so you can bend it and it's more flexible.
Yeah, and as irony would serve, Mark Mothersbaugh's father, and I'm probably not pronouncing his name correctly, so you can leave that comment below the fold. He was a tire salesman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's I guess we'll be talking about a little later, but their dad makes a number of appearances in their films.
Really?
Yeah. So that's
who was he?
That's General. That's the general in the Jaco Homo.
Every man, woman, and mutant on this planet shall know the truth about de-evolution.
Oh yeah, at the table.
Yep. That's their dad.
And that's crazy because there was 3 of his sons were originally in Devo, so that's like crazy. So like his brother, I think, stayed like the whole duration, and then they had another brother who was the drummer, and he made the first set of electric drums because he worked at like a muffler shop. And he just took parts from the muffler shop, and he made the first electronic drum set. Yeah. And he actually left the band because he became like, a tech sort of wizard.
Like the guys.
So
like the guys in Boston.
Yeah. I Googled him and I forgot. Like he's just like I forgot what company he worked for, but he just went on to be sort of a techie. So you had the dad in the Devo videos, right, and 3 of his sons in Devo, and they best describe their style as it was like they wanted the sound that sounded like sort of bombs dropping mixed with Alka Seltzer commercial jingles.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah, and so then their style was sort of they were thinking of like there's like all these different art movements, so it was basically like Devo was just one of their many art projects. So they kind of wanted to be filmmakers, and it was like too expensive, back in the early 70s to make films. So they just thought it's like easier to make music instead of films because it was too expensive. So basically they want to be like the futurist art movement where, you put like foghorns and sounds of propellers into the music. But, I think like their background of Akron, Ohio, it's like kind of you see it like all the way through, like as a huge influence.
Yeah. So just to go back to their dad. So yeah, that's his name is. Hold on, cut that out. His name is Robert Mothersbaugh Sr. and he's playing General. He's playing General Boy. That's his character's name.
And that's funny because like Mark Mothersbaugh alter ego was Boogie Boy.
Yeah, Boogie Boy. And apparently you can buy Boogie Boy masks on Boogie Boy. You can buy Boogie Boy masks on Amazon. All right. Well, yeah, I was just gonna say. So in that same video, that video was directed by the Jaco Homo video was directed by their friend Chuck Statler, who I met at the Maryland Film Festival a few years ago. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
He became like he moved to Minneapolis and became like a commercial director.
Yeah, and then he did it, but it was the same guy. That same Chuck Stadler directed like a lot of the videos that you'd see on MTV back in the day. Like he did the Devo videos. He did Elvis Costello. He did What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. And then he did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then he did. I think he did a bad.
I love that.
And then he did One Step Beyond.
A madness, one step beyond.
No way.
Yeah, so it was like the same guy who did all those videos.
So he was like the Spike Jones.
Spike Jones, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I know he did one with Elvez, I think.
But yeah, if you go back, do you see like their first video was like in 1974 for Secret Agent Man?
Yeah.
Before I go to bed, I get down on my knees and thank God I'm a secret agent man.
Oh yeah, I've seen that definitely. That's just like they're in like a warehouse or something.
Yeah, but again, they're kind of all wearing like factory uniforms, and then they get out of a car and they go into a factory.
Yeah.
So again, it's like kind of like emphasizing their sort of, their factory roots. And they said that they wanted like, their influences were like John Waters and Russ Myers and Louis Brunel.
Yeah.
And they use that, kind of as their influences for like their videos and their music. But the whole thing was like they didn't even want to be a band. They thought they would, they're kind of like Kraftwerk's funny little cousins. So they would all dress alike. They hated the idea of having like, at the time it was always like the big rock star lead singer. So they would kind of like dress everyone the same and they would all look alike. So like the lead singer wouldn't be like the star of the band. So their idea was like to put out 3 or 4 Devo bands and have them like tour the country without them. So they can just like stay at home and work on their artwork.
Yeah, that's kind of like Gallagher and Gallagher 2.
Yeah, but actually, I got to research that, but Kraftwerk did do that. They had like the robot tour where robots, like Kraftwerk robots, like were all touring around Europe at the same time, playing at the same time.
Yeah,
so I don't know who came up with that idea first, but because they just like didn't want they like that was just like one of their side projects of their kind of their art movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, if you go, I wasn't a huge Kraftwerk fan, but I've been getting into them since I've been over here, and you can definitely hear, where Devo's coming from with a lot of that Kraftwerk stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like Kraftwerk all dressed alike, and the thing with Kraftwerk is I don't know if they were I find them kind of really funny, but you don't know if they at the time thought of themselves as funny or kind of like that Mike Myers character on Saturday Night Live where they're just so German and arty that they took themselves serious.
Because like let's make a 20-minute long version of Autobahn. It's like, are you guys being funny? But I don't know, it's kind of cool, I think. Oh,
I love the 20-minute version of Autobahn. Right. You just hear like cars go by. But there was, again, it's like a lot of similarities between that and Devo because they would do like 20 minutes of that, but like back in their band days, they would play Jaco Homo with the chorus, "Are we not men? We are Devo," which came from where? Which you told me?
The island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah. So is that what one of the half-human sort of characters says?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. When the half-human animal people are leading revolt, they're just like, "Are we not men?
Are we not men?"
Actually, to get even more specific here, I was reading an interview with them, and they were saying it's the video, the movie they kind of took it from was the 1932 film The Island of Lost Souls, which is an adaptation of The Island of Dr. Moreau. And he just
I think that was Bela Lugosi was in that.
But he was saying, like Mothersbaugh was saying, it's just like really, really intense, especially from something from the 1930s. So that's actually around from the same time as far as Freaks, because they're really into that Todd Browning movie, Freaks.
Yeah, there's like one Devo video I saw where he's like a flipper boy.
Mm-hmm.
from Freaks. So I was just watching that, and I was thinking of Freaks.
Yeah, definitely. Them Freaks. So those guys they like the weird movies.
Yeah. So like you're saying, like Kraftwerk would play like a 30-minute version of Autobahn, but back in the day they would play like kind of blues bars.
Right.
Whatever gig, like when you're just a band sort of starting out. And they would do like the Jaco Homo sort of chant for like 30 minutes just to sort of torment people.
Are we not men? We are Devo. Are we not men? Devo.
Just 30 minutes of "Are we not men?" That call response.
Yeah.
And it would just be like inevitable. There'd be some like Vietnam vet at the bar who would just at one point just rush the stage and just tackle them to make them stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can see like the whole their reasoning behind doing the Satisfaction is like kind of like they were mentioning that it's like kind of a window into Devo. Like if you didn't get Devo, then here was a hook. You know, here's a song that you already know, and they kind of Devoed it up.
I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get me no satisfaction.
And so you
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's the same thing
it was about repurposing.
Yeah.
Repurposing through their filter of pop culture.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with, you know, Secret Agent Man was a remake as well, and
Well, like in the Jaco Homo video, he's like Boogie Boy is playing the keyboard, and for a moment he plays with like his elbow, and that was like a nod to like Jerry Lee Lewis.
oh wow, okay, yeah.
Well, I heard him. I don't know. Like I heard him talk about like when he was watching the like Jerry Lee Lewis or the Beatles for the first time, and John Lennon was playing keyboards, and he played with his elbow, and he's like, "Holy, what is that?" And then he found out that like John Lennon was taking that from Jerry Lee Lewis, and then I watched that Jaco Homo video, like researching this, and for a moment he plays like with his elbow.
Yeah.
So that's got to be like a direct sort of a connection. And by the way, the dance he does in Jaco Homo, it's called the Poot.
Oh yeah, well, he mentions it. He mentions it in the song. They say have a line about doing the Poot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's in that song. And that I believe they filmed that. That was at Kent State, I think, where they filmed it, because those were just people in class, and it got kind of they showed it at the Ann Arbor Film Festival in Michigan. That's where they first started kind of picking up a lot of steam. And that video is still, I mean, if you look at it now, it's still creepy as hell. Because it's just, they had no CGI, no special effects, but just like people and that weird dude in the bag in the middle of the room, and then just Mothersbaugh's whole look about him, and then the guys with pantyhose and goggles on their head. Yeah. You're like, what the hell is this?
And Boogie Boy's like in a crib.
Yeah.
Kind of like a man baby in a crib.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
But that's like total like John Waters-esque sort of thing, which is great, and it's like so funny. Yeah. It just has like that scene where like everyone's in hospital masks.
Yeah.
Like in the classroom.
Right. Yeah.
Again, just simple, funny idea, can carry something, with an intriguing characters. But like what you're saying about Satisfaction, that's like a funny story. So they were like rehearsing in a car wash, like that was their rehearsal space. Mm-hmm. And they just sort of like, were just tooling around with like, like the drummer came up with this funny drum beat, and then like they were just like spontaneously improvising. And then just as a goof, Mark Mothersbaugh, he started singing like Satisfaction over this like cacophony of music. Mm-hmm. He was just doing it just to be funny.
Yeah.
And it just like stuck.
Yeah, because it's pretty, because their guitar work is pretty interesting in that song. And there's also, to jump back to Jaco Homo really quick. There's a demo version they did of that, because that there's like the demo version, then I think there's the version that's in the music video, which I think they might have replaced with when they actually got the song recorded by Brian Lee Eno and all that stuff. But in the very first demo version of the song, they have a whole chorus in the middle about Ohio. They're like, what's round on the ends and high in the middle? Ohio. They all start chanting that.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I mean, it's just like, and again, another thing of them like repurposing music was "Uncontrollable Urge," which starts out "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So they're basically doing the Beatles' "She Loves You."
Yeah, it's actually the same. It's the same chord. It's just played faster. Da-na-na-na.
Yeah. So they thought that went over everyone's head until they played in New York at Max's Kansas City, and like John Lennon was in the audience. And then afterwards, like they were loading up the truck, and they saw like John Lennon with I think the musician Ian Hunter, and they're both like really drunk. And John Lennon saw them, and he came like right up to their window, and he just went, yeah.
Yeah,
so he totally got the reference and the joke.
Yeah, it's a great story. Yeah, and then Mothersbaugh said, "Yeah, I could die now."
Yeah, exactly. And then if you look at the video for like "Girl You Want," which is like them playing like in front of a TV audience, and it's like the audience is just like screaming girls.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much like a nod to like the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Oh yeah, totally.
So, like I said, I think their big break came with when they got on Saturday Night Live. Like Brian Eno he did like produce their first album.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they said, there's a funny story. Is like, so he was like mixing their one of their tracks, and he would like take moments where he was like sort of like wanting to sing like sort of background vocals on the tracks, and they didn't want him, so like Mark Mothersbaugh would like turn down the sound on his tracks.
Yeah. David Bowie was a big fan of theirs too. He was like one that kind of steered Brian Eno over to them.
Oh, and just a little trivia note: Brian Eno took him to Germany at the same recording studio where Kraftwerk and Can recorded.
All right.
So there was that sort of Kraftwerk connection, and and they said David Bowie would turn up at the recording sessions, and it would just be mostly him and Brian Eno would fight over during dinner. Because he didn't like the way he produced David Bowie's Low album. So he said it got kind of awkward.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so their big break was when they got on Saturday Night Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, Devo.
And there was like, I forgot what WTF there was. Like someone asked Lorne Michaels why they booked Devo, and Lorne Michaels said, brainy art school kids.
Yeah, he just got it.
Yeah. So he got like where they were coming from. So
I mean, I remember watching. I mean, that was like my first exposure to them, and I'm pretty sure they showed the Boogie Boy General Boy sequence like before they played. Mm-hmm. So because like, that whole thing is it's so fucking weird, and the music that's in it, that boom, 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 boom. And they showed that on the TV, and then they cut to them, in the studio where they played Satisfaction, and you're just like, what the fuck is this, Whereas, as opposed to, that's kind of like one of the biggest differences between SNL now and kind of then, where then they would just, they would pick these bands they thought, they wanted to have on there, whereas now it seems like they're more just kind of just whatever's popular, they'll
exactly.
Yeah.
So what their first look when they were on SNL is they wore those yellow jumpsuits, mm-hmm. which is there's a funny story. They got them from a janitorial supply catalog for $3.50 each.
All right, that's awesome.
And they just put like some handmade black belt around them. So they would play like live shows in those suits, and they would get like really hot. And so then towards the end of the show they would all rip off the yellow suits, and they would have like 1950s gym clothes underneath.
Yeah.
And play the rest of the show like that. So, which segues into the what made Devo funny was their great costumes.
Oh yeah, they're always uniform. That was not. They were always like a corporate band, but there was so you had the yellow jumpsuits. You had the Spudman outfits where they were like the white collars,
potatoes,
and black shirt. Yeah, the Spuds, and then you had like the corporate '50s dudes where they all had the plastic hair, and they
had JFK hair.
Yeah.
The new. And the official name for that was the New Traditionalist Pomp.
Yeah, the New Traditionalist Pomp, and then the Energy Dome.
Yeah, the red energy dome hats is kind of like their most. That and the suit, the yellow suits, are their most iconic looks.
Yeah, definitely.
And then in the early days, they would just wear like blue jumpsuits. And there was a story that they were waiting for a car to get to a gig, and someone would come up and they would think they're the parking valet and hand them the keys to their car.
Because they all matched.
Yeah. So the reasoning behind that, they took that from, like, say, Metropolis, the movie Metropolis, and they just wanted to look like they were all kind of cogs in this machine. Mm-hmm. So, again, I think they're doing it for the funny's sake.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and with the new traditionalist pomp, they would also wear Boy Scout uniforms.
Yeah, that was it. Okay.
Oh, and then they also had the skateboard guys from Freedom of Choice, or We're Through Being Cool.
Yeah, that's Through Being Cool. Yeah, so we up to Freedom of Choice, because I was going to say that's my favorite album of theirs is Freedom of Choice.
I say it again, in the land of the free. You're afraid of my joy, you're afraid of my joy.
Yeah, it's a good album. And when they played in Japan, they asked this Japanese musician told them that Freedom of Choice in Japanese translated to the psychology of desire.
Yeah.
And then when they came back for their next tour, which was the New Traditionalist tour, in Japanese they didn't have a word for New Traditionalist. So the same Japanese guy said, "Do you know that the name of your tour translated into Japanese translates to yuppies?"
Yeah.
So they weren't too happy
No,
about that.
that was all right. Yeah. So let's talk about their, because so Freedom of Choice. So now we're up to about 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then what was their big hit on that album?
Oh, so was this? I'm not sure if it's on the Freedom of Choice album, but kind of like the beginning of the end of Devo was their biggest hit, which was Whip It.
Right. Yep.
Now whip it into shape. Shape it up. Get straight. Go forward. Move ahead. Try to detect it. It's not too late.
Yeah, it became a number one hit in 1980, and Mark Mothersbaugh cited it as the end.
Yeah.
Of Devo.
Yeah.
So at the time, I think they were on Warner Brother Records, and they're kind of like, they were just like low maintenance, like Warner Brothers would have like their big bands that would, sell millions of records, and they're like, they were signed on, like, they did all their own cover designs, and they made their own videos. So it's just like, why don't we just have this sort of like novelty band on our label? They do all the work for them. They sell some records, And then Whip It came around, and that just changed the whole dynamic. It was like a number one song, and suddenly like all the record executives like turn up like at their rehearsals and then just say things like, "Hey, you guys, are you gonna give us another Whip It? Do you have another Whip It on hand?"
Yeah.
So before they were like totally off the grid, and then suddenly like, the executives wanted another Whip It. And he's just said like having a number one song took all the fun out of it.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I didn't know about this. So they funded the video for Whip It with their own money. So it was $15,000. That's how much.
Did they have the same director, Chuck Statler?
No, they did it. They did it themselves. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And there's another thing about Whip It is it's a political song. It's about whipping politics into shape. And then suddenly they were like on the morning zoo, and it's like, hey, I was just whipping it a second ago. It's just like no one really kind of got, mainstream radio didn't get the whole gist that it was actually kind of like a political song.
Oh wow, this is okay. This is interesting. See, I didn't know about. Okay, so the the song they based the video on a 1962 issue of Dude magazine, and in this
gotta Google that.
Dude magazine, an interview. They said in the magazine, this is a quote from Casale. And he says, there was a feature article on a guy who had been an actor and fell into hard times. He wasn't getting parts anymore. He moved with his wife to Arizona, opened a dude ranch, and charged people money to come hang out at the ranch. Every day at noon in the corral for entertainment, he'd whip his wife's clothes off with a 12-foot bullwhip. She sewed the costumes and put them together with Velcro. And the story was in the magazine was about how good he was and he never hurt her. So that's what they said. Yeah, that's where that idea comes from, huh? Okay.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, but
Dude magazine.
Yeah, apparently the S&M overtones of the video caused controversy.
Yeah, and they it's just like there was so many horrors in the world that they thought, that was just like ironic that would cause like controversy.
Yeah, that was and Lily Tomlin wouldn't let them play on her show. She said she said the video was offensive to women.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had that, and I see like I watched some of their videos. I see like their videos sort of a slight little influence on one filmmaker who goes by the name Scott Colonico.
Oh my god, yes. Well, you steal from the best. That's the way it works.
Well, just like kind of like just like they utilize found footage, like old timey footage in excellent sort of funny ways.
Oh yeah, it's excellent. Yeah, actually there's a video from Mongoloid that's nothing but found footage. It's not very good, but it's a lot of found footage, found old timey science footage put together.
Yeah, I saw it. And what's like a really good video is Beautiful World.
Oh yeah, I think it's probably
because that's like a lot of like nuclear bombs going off, and then like the satirical irony of the song is enhanced by the video.
It's a beautiful world we live in, a sweet romantic place, beautiful people everywhere, the way they show they care makes me want to say.
Yeah, I mean that one's up there, and I also have to say that I think the video for Freedom of Choice is another one of those like freaky what the hell is this thing? The like the little like they're alien dudes. They've
oh yeah, popping out of like a hole.
Yeah.
I think that's the one where they have the guy from Freaks, where he's like Flipper Boy.
Yeah, and that's the one. So I'm 99% sure that Chuck Statler did that one as well.
Is that the one with the skateboard dudes?
Yeah, that's the ones that skateboarders. That's the skateboarders in that one. Where they're in the empty pool. That's where it starts. It starts in the pool.
Oh man, they're just so funny.
Yeah.
But it also, I think, like in that genre is through being cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that one. That's when they're wearing the JFK haircut.
We're through being cool. We're through being cool. Eliminate the ninnies and the twits.
Yeah, and how that song came about was like that was like a reaction to Whippet's success.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're through being cool. They didn't want to be like cool. They just wanted to, be their art band.
Yeah, no, it's just like that's gotta be tough. You get the success and you're not even trying for it.
Exactly, and they just didn't even really want to be a band.
Yeah, I know. This is it. Well, it worked out. It worked out for them pretty well. Not wanting to be a band.
Yeah,
maybe that's what you should do.
And I get what's that?
Just not want to be something. Yeah, don't try. Charles Bukowski said, "Don't try."
Yeah. Well, it's kind of true. It's like you let something organically happen rather than way trying too hard.
Yeah.
And but it did, like you said, it did work out well for them. And I guess now we can just segue into sort of the funniness after Devo.
Yeah, I mean they continued to tour. I mean I've seen them a couple. I saw them they played Sundance in like 1996, and then I saw them again not too long. I saw them it's about 10 years ago, or 2000, about 2006 I think. I saw them in San Antonio. So they kind of were kind of coming and going for a while, And then I know they played South by Southwest not too like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, but it was the thing where they didn't have to do it, because because Mark Mothersbaugh has had a an amazing career afterwards. So
Yeah.
it's like not even the money. But they did one funny post, huge Devo. Yeah, they put out some records that kind of not so good,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like kind of like a closed set of like what you can do in that Devo carnation.
Right.
But they did put out one for when Mitt Romney was running for president called "Don't Roof Rack Me, Bro."
Really?
About Romney's dog.
What?
Oh, Romney put his like dog on a roof rack and it died. That was like a big kind
really?
of controversy.
Okay.
Yeah,
alright.
so they put out a song called "Don't Roof Rack Me, Bro,"
Oh my god. What
like an
happened?
anti-Romney song.
Okay, what happened to the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy? We should have a
Yeah,
whole
that
episode
guy.
on that.
Oh, I know, and also the guy who got caned in Singapore.
Oh yeah, that's like we'll revisit people who got abused publicly in some way.
Yeah. So like we're saying is like after Devo, Mark Mothersbaugh, he started a production company, a musical production company called Mutato Musica. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so they started doing like commercial jingles. And probably the funniest story is they were doing a commercial jingle for Hawaiian Punch. And just to sort of like stick it to the man, they would put subliminal messages underneath the commercial jingles strictly for their own benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the Hawaiian Punch, under the drum beat, they would put the message, "Sugar is bad for you."
Into the video, into the commercial. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just listened to the commercial, and you can't really pick up on it, but it's there.
Okay. All right.
So so they would keep putting these messages in like these TV commercials until one day, like I think it was like an engineer or an ad executive said, "I know what you're doing, and I want you to stop."
Yeah.
But the big break was Mark Mothersbaugh started writing the music for Pee-wee's Playhouse in 1986.
And pull yourself up a chair. Let the fun begin. It's time to let down your hair.
Yeah, Pee-wee's Playhouse was kind of a launching point for a number of people. It was at Lawrence Fishburne kind of started his comeback there, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was.
because he was in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, he
like,
was
as
like
a teenager.
Yeah, he's like 10.
I think he was like 15.
Yeah, he's like really young, and yeah.
Yeah. So he started doing the theme songs for that and composing tracks, and from there he spawned on to doing such movies as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and the theme and music for Rugrats, and probably the movies that he's best known for is the soundtrack to Wes Anderson's films.
Right. Yep.
So he did like Life Aquatic and the Royal Tannenbaums and all that. And which leads us up to modern day is he's also, a prolific visual artist. And again, you can see his art show in New York at Gray's Gallery. It's called Mark Mothersbaugh Myopic.
Mm-hmm.
And I went. Did you go?
No, I didn't. Well, I tried to go, but apparently the gallery's not in New York. The one thing that's not open 24 hours a day in New York is the art gallery at NYU.
Yeah, don't go on a Sunday
Don't
or a
go.
Monday.
It won't
But
be open.
so besides having a lot of like Devo artifacts, so that show goes on till I think of like July 15th if you want to go check it out. Besides like a lot of Devo artifacts and Devo videos and all that, it has like a lot of his work, which is like he has this one series where he just kind of takes like mirror images of like I think he calls them the mutant series. So he just takes like the same half of a person's face and mirrors it to create these like mutant images. It's really simple idea that looks so like, you know, the best ideas are the simplest ideas, and they just look so funny and bizarre, like kind of like these old timey photos, but just kind of mirrors the same side of the face to make these kind of like mutant looking creatures.
Yeah, it's just scary mutant looking creatures.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up is what do you feel is the historic, humorous impact of Devo that lives on till this day?
Oh man, it's just you know, music can be funny and still cool at the same time. I think that's kind of what I got from them. And then they were able to make things weird and yet still commercially appealing. You know, I know they warped my mind as a young Scott. I remember seeing them and just going, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, appealing or not cool, but make nerdy cool.
Right. Yeah, this is before it was cool to be a nerd, before they had comic book movies coming out and Star Wars movies coming out every other month.
Yeah. And they're I mean, this is like a kind of an old-timey impact is like, if you look at movies like Revenge of the Nerds in the talent show create like a Devo-esque band.
Well, like I said, they were kind of a pop culture phenomenon at that time. 'Cause I don't know if you remember the show called Square Pegs that was on for about a season, actually written by some of the writers from Saturday Night Live, and Devo make a guest appearance.
Oh, Jessica Parker.
Yeah, it was a show that Jessica Parker was on, and then Devo make a guest appearance on that show.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Yeah.
And you have a favorite guest appearance of them? Only the one that you've mentioned a million times and showed me the video. Fridays.
Oh, the Fridays, yeah. Well, they would play a lot on Fridays, and then they would do Saturday Night Live, and then they would do the Midnights. They would do all those kind of like, you know, the big variety type shows back then. But the Fridays clip is good just because it's just such an awkward introduction, and this comedian is trying to be funny, and it's and Devo's just standing there. Yes, thank you, human.
There, Edith, you are a warm and beautiful human. That is really how I feel.
You mean that? You want to do the song?
And then also they went on and they did the music for Dan Aykroyd movie Dr. Detroit.
Dr. Detroit, yeah. Call the doctor, Dr. Detroit.
And then another clip. I don't know if this is their historical impact, but there's also Devo doing a duet with Neil Young, doing a version of "Hey Hey My" from the Neil Young directed movie Human Highway.
Yeah, they do a couple songs in that. They've got like they do a song when they're cleaning up nuclear waste. It's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a weird movie.
You saw it? Is it worth
I've seen
seeing,
parts
or is it
of
just
it.
kind of like see them in chunks?
It's just watch it in chunks. It's like one of those weird movies that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It's better to burn out than to fade away. Hey.
So I will watch it in chunks.
Okay, yeah, watch it in chunks. Yeah, stop and start. It's one of those.
But who do you think is like the modern day kind of funny band equivalent of Devo, if there is one?
I don't know. I'm not down with all the hipsters. I mean, I think like there's a lot of that. They're calling it. Oh, there's like the math rock stuff that's going on. There's like a lot of. Oh, I was reading about it. Yeah, it was like the people in Silicon Valley doing that kind of stuff now. Like a lot of like nerd rock kind of stuff. That's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually there's an article in Vice actually that I read that it had all like it's talking about all the kind of followers to Devo's legacy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We will post it on our site. Right click save, which is rtcksave.com. So so I guess that's the legacy of Devo. Probably one of the funniest bands of all time, and that's their kind of comedy legacy, mixing kind of, and also a comedy legacy of being a band that traverses across all mediums, from just live performances to their funny videos to their artwork.
Yeah, they're calling it geek rock now. So Devo is listed in there, but some of the big players right now are the Double Clicks, 5 Year Mission, Team Unicorn, Unfry, bands of that nature.
Got it. And yeah, so anyways, I guess that wraps it up for this edition of
Comedy History 101.
And so Scott, if people want to find out more, where should they go?
Well, why don't they go to our website? Right-click save. That's rtcksave.com, where you'll find this podcast and also all the other podcasts that we do. This is The President. And that's the production company that Harmon and I are running, currently entitled Right-click Save, rtcksave.com. And that's where we'll put those. But you'll also be able to find the podcast on all your favorite podcast stores like iTunes, and it's starting to leak out to Last.fm. We'll get it up on Google Play, but it's not there yet. But don't worry, it'll come soon.
Yeah, so if you like the show, if we got anything wrong, be sure to comment, like us, subscribe on iTunes. I think we even have like a donate button where if you want to donate to the podcast, no one has done it yet, you can do so to help us keep us going in this lucrative industry of podcasting.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that about does it. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, and out.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Good thing about doing comedy in Russia, you have captured audience.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.